Well, welcome back. This is Sean Smith, University of Kansas. I've been offering some tips and strategies for hybrid blended online learning, particularly that connection with the home. And in this session, I want to briefly talk about that home and physical education. Now, why physical exercise, right? That's a silly question, Sean. But yet, when we're doing blended or hybrid or fully online learning, our access to the traditional physical education, which a number of my peers that are physical education teachers would say, it's not enough even when we're face to face, but we're going to be restricted. I've talked to a lot of schools that are hybrid and blended, and right now they're using their gymnasium for lots of different purposes. And of course, if we're fully online, gym is doing remote if we're actually having that class remotely. Now, with that thought in mind, why do we need to focus in on physical education? Of course, many of us have already done this, and yet there's that COVID-19. I'm not talking about the name of the virus, but rather the 10, 19 pounds that many of us have gained. So with that said, of course, health, better sleep, but that stress and anxiety, the ability to focus in terms of that learning, the ability to be engaged. And many of us that do exercise regularly know that. And yet the children that we're working with, they need that guidance. How long they have been sitting. And in some of us, exercise, education-wise, especially in that virtual learning, we may almost be requiring that child to be fairly stagnant, to be sitting for much longer than we expected. And if you're like, no, not at all, think of all those Zoom interactions that we continue to have and we've had where, yeah, okay, now we'll have the next one, now we'll have the next one, now we'll have the next one. So with that thought in mind, let me give you an example of a child that I know quite well, my nephew. He has autism. He's nonverbal. He's a first grader. And this is where physical exercise has been so critical to him. Now, in terms of his learning, behavior has been critical, right? Of course, he's an individual with autism. The applied behavioral analysis, the ABA therapy has been very, very critical. In that, everything's from routines to structures to visuals have been consequences, have been very, very critical for his mother to be able to integrate in the home environment. The educator that's working with him has talked about structure, has talked about when to continue to do bath time. If that's before learning, let's do a bath before learning, regardless of the time of day. How to facilitate things, sensory breaks, the whole list of things. Academically, how to engage, using visual supports. I could go on and on and on, but let's talk physical activity. What's been critical for him, for his success, is the idea that, okay, now mom, we need to integrate in physical activity on a regular basis. So if we're going to go off to do learning, let's walk first. Let's jump. Let's slide. Let's swing. Now, a number of these things, minus the sliding, are all things they're doing in the home environment or very closely in the neighborhood. That swing that you see there, actually, he has that down in his basement. He's able to get on there and swing and get ready. But also, things like that old apparatus that you see there that goes up and down with the pulleys and all that, that's something that allows my nephew to be able to stop. His feet hit it, stop. That physical connection, that sensory connection is so critical to him. Now you may be saying, well, he's on the autism spectrum. And yeah, sensory is so critical. And yet many of our young learners, that sensory connection is critical. Many of our older learners, whatever age you want to say older is, that physical connection, that exercise is going to be so critical in their overall learning. Now, what are some of the things we can do? Well, planning for exercise, first of all, we need to think about how we engage the family. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be during the educational day. These are the types of things we can do in the evening, maybe first thing in the morning, maybe on the weekends as an extended type of thing. That may be that bicycle ride or that walk on the trail, or maybe we're going to go swimming when we have a little bit more time. But what we do need to do is identify a time and a place. And we need to keep that structure. Of course, any of us that are exercising for health are doing that regularly. Otherwise, what? We miss it, always an excuse for it. And next thing you know, we slide off that exercise list that we've been trying to do for a long time. But we need to, for the students, do this even that type of pattern, but also throughout the day. So first of all, where can we go? Well, first of all, channels. Video channels are out there left and right, with all sorts of things, right? Now, of course, when I think of video and I think of things we can do here, of course, this comes into mind in terms of exercise. And many of you probably remember him, right? There we go. Little Richard Simmons. Okay. I know you guys just want to get up and going on that. We'll stop on that for just a moment. But there's a lot of video channels out there that are for the home that are there that are was it Movely, and a number of other things that are very garnered towards young children, that are geared towards the home environment, that offer directions that we can watch on our computers, and it can really get us up and going. So there's a plethora of those things. But also there's a number of different technology tools, and I'll just start with the Fitbit. Now, the Fitbit, first of all, comes in a range of prices. Now, maybe it's not the Fitbit, maybe it's something else, but I'm going to just use this because my son with Down syndrome has been using it for years. Now, he has it on, and he's had now the second generation of it. He had a very basic one for years. But you know, Fitbits offer reminders. They'll give a little buzz when it's, hey, we can set it for time to get up, time to get off our seat, to do something. It can also identify with goals. Now, those goals can connect with your device. And those devices offers a very visual dashboard, a tracker, everything from your heartbeat, if you have something more recent, your heartbeat to the number of steps you've done, of course, calorie. You can interact with a dashboard system that can upload that information and then, of course, engage the child more in terms of, well, these are my goals and this is what I want to move towards. So a lot of different types of technologies like Fitbit that can facilitate that. One, to allow for the individual to self-monitor, self-regulate, and be a little bit more independent, but also as a motivator. Of course, depending upon the child, age of your child, it will depend upon the technology you look for. All right, enough with Richard Simmons. Another element, though, is besides video channels like Richard Simmons, but many of those are how-to. So walk me through how to do these things. And again, I can be fairly independent. So it might be, okay, time for my video. Okay, I like Movely. All right, I get my yoga mat out, or I go and get changed into my clothes. I come on down, and then, of course, now time to do it. And mom and dad doesn't necessarily have to do it with me. That's the type of thing maybe I can do a little bit more independently. Or maybe I do a virtual Zoom with some other friends, and we're watching this together. And then, of course, someone's sharing their screen, and we're all doing this together, and we're connecting in, and we're talking. My son, again, with Down syndrome right now, he's in a physical activity virtually with a number of his friends where someone facilitates that 3 days a week. So it's something to think about. It could be a different parent every day, or it could be a different parent every week, depending on how you want to do it. Now, there's so many apps that are out there as well, and those apps do everything from, they illustrate what you're supposed to do for the physical activity. They may illustrate for how to throw a ball, how to swing a racket, how to jump appropriately, the directions about how to do a certain exercise and do a certain exercise well, and it breaks down the steps, and it also reviews it. It prompts the individual. You can do recordings of yourself, of course, and then break that down as well. There's a number of how-to in terms of sports and things of that nature. It just goes on and on and on with the apps that have opportunity for it. So a lot of different technologies to use for a lot of different purposes, everything from group to individual to learn how to, and the directions go on. Now, we as educators, what's our role? Well, first of all, I think it's empowering the family at home with tips and strategies. So as a physical educator, let's say, hey, I am the expert, right, in ways to do things. Now, I should be able to give, if I don't have an opportunity to be able to do that direct instruction, or even if I am being able to do that remote instruction, I should be leaving my families with, okay, this is an example. Here's how to extend it. Here's some other games. Here's some ways to use your chair in your living room. Here's a way to use that slide outside. Here's a way to use a step going upstairs. Give specific guides, give specific games, create some of those. It might be video modeling them. It may be offering suggested steps. It might be literally creating a PDF with those suggested steps with images of yourself doing it or images of someone else doing it, so I know exactly what to do. It might be ideas that we can integrate exercise into learning. So collaborate with our colleagues. It might be, okay, science, they want you to go out and find insects. Well, when you're out doing insects, let's do a double jump, or let's do a hop, skip, jump, or here's some ideas. When we're out with mom and dad walking, here's some ideas to really enhance that. We're the experts, PE teachers. Be that. Collaborate with our colleagues. Collaborate with our parents. Make videos for those illustrations. Let us watch them. Let us learn from them, and we can extend it. So this is our role as educators, not only as our regular general educators or special educators, but that physical education teacher to really empower the home. So it's not just simply let's go out for a walk, but let's go out for a walk with a purpose, because Mr. Hodges, our PE teacher, gave us this example, and we can really build upon things. Now, a direct example that's not technology-wise, but could use technology, and I'll end here, is something as simple as a marathon club. Now, maybe you're unfamiliar with it, but this is, to me, a specific example of how a PE teacher can really facilitate this, if not an entire community. So prior to the pandemic, a number of schools did marathon clubs. Well, what's a marathon? It's 26.2 miles, right? And I don't know what it is in kilometers, but 26.2 miles. Well, we're not going to go run a marathon, no. But what we could do is we could organize this across our remote school. And that is, first of all, what a face-to-face marathon club is, and maybe I should explain that first. It's the idea that we offer opportunities for walking, maybe running, before school, after school, maybe twice a week. We get the community involved. Maybe our teachers come, maybe parents come. And what do? Well, they serve as the route masters. So there's a route around a building, and the building may be, I don't know, 300 yards around the building. And of course, it probably is not that small, but something along those lines. But a face-to-face marathon club would be the students come, and they simply go walking for a day, and then a number of volunteer parents, when the child's finished walking for that day, they record it. And they have just a list of recording, could be on a Google Sheets or something like that. And the child basically says, okay, see you the next time we do this. And like I say, maybe twice a week, maybe Mondays before school, Wednesdays after school, or something like that. A lot of communities have done it that way. So what are we doing virtually? Well, maybe it's now, as educators, we're basically identifying some maps in our district, or come to the school building. Of course, you can't come into school, but come if you walk this route around the school building 2 or 3 days a week. Of course, the child might be a little bit more motivated to be around the building. This is going to be X number of yards, or X number of meters, or X number of miles. And so over the course of 30 or 40 or 50 of these events, this could take several months, but it takes place 2 or 3 days a week, let's say, engaging the individual, something the individual can connect to. They get to that magic 26.2 miles. They've run a marathon. Well, what do? Well, we make sure they get a marathon shirt. We make sure that we create a virtual wall, and of course a wall in school where we can take pictures if any of us are in our building, to be able to show, see, your name's on there, you've done a marathon. Now maybe I'm running a mile a day. Some of us may be running a mile a day. In 26 days, we'll have that marathon. And then, of course, we'll be able to say, hey, give me that t-shirt. I want to run another marathon. So maybe we get different colored t-shirts for the number of marathons we run throughout the year. But these are the types of things where, okay, let's go out for a walk. No, let's go out for a walk every day so we can record, so we can get to that t-shirt and that next t-shirt, or get higher on the wall, or whatever it is that we get rewarded for. These things have been cool and very reinforcing face-to-face. Let's bring in virtually. So what can we do virtually? Give the map. Organize different places throughout the community where they can do the same thing. Maybe it's a trail. Maybe it's walking up and down a main street that's going to be a certain amount. Maybe it's walking around the school. Maybe it's a track that's next to school that everyone uses. Provide a virtual place where students can record their notes to be able to show what they've done. Maybe they have to put up pictures, or they have to put up video, or things of that nature to show how they're doing it. It may be trying to also coordinate some virtual groups. Maybe it's a small group of people in a neighborhood to go out from afar, social distancing, do a walk in the morning, so at least they get a chance to see each other first thing in the morning. Or maybe it's in the evening. Hey, neighbors in this block, go ahead and do the following, or in this cul-de-sac, or in this city street, wherever it may be. The list goes on, but it's an easy way of coordinating from our end as the educator to assist the parents, to assist the children in their homes, to get that exercise, to get that reinforcement, and in the end, be able to be engaged, etc. All right, I'll stop there. It's a simple example. It's more of a face-to-face example, but we can use technology for it. I hope this has given you a few ideas of ways that we need to connect back at home as educators to facilitate that physical education. And of course, how it's so important for us as parents to be able to garnering that and looking to our educators for ideas, time to be able to facilitate it, etc., etc. Hope this tip helped, and I'll look forward to talking to you in the future here about these tips and strategies to further empower the folks at home, to further empower the children they're working with.